All right. Well, thanks everybody for jumping in with us today. Glad you're here, and I hope that you can take something very practical away from our session today about business events. My name is Jeremy Potoka. I run a company called Presales Leader. We help resellers and implementers of Acumatica and just support them with solution design. One of those things that I find that oftentimes we go live without are some of the automation features that we bought Acumatica for in the first place. And it's no one's fault. It's just kind of what happens in the throes of a go live that everybody wants to make sure they were able to get the requirements of accounting and inventory management. And sometimes these things trail off into a future phase. So that's what I'm really excited to talk to everybody today about. It's one of my favorite features of Acumatica called business events. I know that there's different folks on the line today. Some of you may know Acumatica really well. Others of you may have just kicked an implementation off as a client. So I really want to make sure that I'm building a good case for why we should be using business events, what they are, some of the prerequisites. And then we're certainly going to jump into the software and take a look at a couple examples that I've been able to put together and just give you some pointers to head you in the right direction. So thanks again for joining. Let's jump in and review just what business events are. So business events it's an automation feature in Acumatica. So first off, what is it? It's an automation feature that we're going to wind up using to be able to automate certain businesses, processes, and notifications. Why might we want to do this, right? If we think about our end user client journey, and let's say that over here on the left, you're just beginning an implementation, somewhere over here, you're live, and then you're using Acumatica for many more years to come. Really, you can implement this at any point. It could be during your implementation. It could be after you go live. Like I mentioned, this is one of those things that when I help customers, maybe they've been live for a year or two, and like they don't have certain dashboards set up. There's certain things they're doing manually. And again, maybe it's just a pet peeve of mine, but business events is one of those that I think people really love to see in a demo, but then they rarely set up. So we'll talk about exactly how to set them up. That's the why. And as far as when, it's up to you. This is not a separate feature of Acumatica. Other legacy publishers of ERP systems in the past, they've actually, this was like an ISV solution, right? Some sort of business or alert type of ISV solution, or, even just another, a module that they made you pay more for, right? As the publisher themselves. So what's really nice about this is that this is a feature any Acumatica user can turn on. It's just a core functionality that I think you could gain a lot of benefit from. So let's jump in and we'll just talk a little bit more about some of the prerequisites of using business events inside of Acumatica. So I have an Acumatica instance open here. This is just one of my demo sites that I use. I'll also share my phone to the screen in a little bit so that you can see how business events can actually send a text message out. But the first thing that I want to say about business events is actually has nothing to do with the business event itself. It has to do with another very powerful feature inside of Acumatica, and that would be the generic inquiry functionality. Now, I know that there's a session following me at 1:15 Eastern time, I believe, that has to do all about using inquiries. So if you're not planning on attending that and you're available, I would encourage you to join that because I think you're going to learn a lot. I was talking to one customer at the last summit, and they said, I think that everything in Acumatica comes back to a generic inquiry. And they're probably right? Because this is the basis, and Acumatica was very smart about this. They used generic inquiries as a basis for many features across the system. Take, for example, dashboards, right? If I wanted a dashboard about my sales order data, the way that I would get to that dashboard is actually by looking at, for example, a dashboard tile that's been configured to look at this sales order inquiry. Very simple example. any inquiry inside of Acumatica, right? These little KPI tiles that you could drill down on. This is simply looking at inquiries in the system that the underlying data set is built with what Acumatica calls a generic inquiry. Other systems call that a saved search, but think of it just like a data set. So we also use this GI tool for our notification capability and specifically business events. So if you imagine that a new sales order has been added and somebody else added it and it adds it to my screen here, business events are almost like a business monitoring tool. It's sitting there listening saying, hey, you told me to know whenever a sales order over $10,000 is placed that someone wants to be notified, right, internally. So one thing I will say about business events is they have internal reason. There's internal purposes, like I want to notify one of my colleagues who also happens to be in Acumatica, or it could be we want to notify a customer, or we even want to process data. You can actually change and have Acumatica's business events light off an import scenario to actually update records. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the business events screen so you can see a list. Many of these are available just in the standard demo data set. So if you happen to have a sandbox company or even just like a sandbox snapshot with the Acumatica vanilla demo data to play around in, these are already included in there. But you can see here the list of different types of business events. And notice they all look at this screen ID. These are the inquiry screens, right, that they use as their basis for building these business events, okay? Some of them are triggered by a record change, and we'll look at that later. I have an example where as a CEO of a small business, every time a salesperson books an order over $10,000, I want to get a task added to my dashboard to pick up the phone and call them, right? That I don't necessarily want to automate that because it loses that personal touch. I want to automate the fact that I get notified and it adds a task, but I actually want to text them and say, hey, great job getting that order across the line. Nice job closing that business. Just a very simple example that we'll look at later. But it could also be triggered on a schedule. So you could just say, you know what, all of our cases in the case management system, we're just going to, on some interval, once a day, once a night, we're going to look at that data set for case information and send out notifications all at one time that we've been waiting 10 days and that we're going to close the case, right? And it sends a notification out. So these work a couple of different ways. I'm going to show you guys one here that I've got. This is just called a shipment text notification. Right, so very easy to be able to set these up inside of Acumatica. This is active. It's looking at a generic inquiry screen with shipment information. And let me just walk you through the basis of these business events, and we'll touch on a couple other areas that you don't necessarily have to set up, but would likely set up, like a notification template or the subscriber SMS type. So first off, the trigger conditions here are looking at a shipment inquiry. And what I'm saying is when a new shipment is sent, we want to send the customer a text message. So this is actually using the text message feature to be able to do that. This first tab is just saying, what's the condition? It's just like configuring a filter on a generic inquiry, or like any of the filters in Acumatica that show you that little funnel. It's very similar. This grid is that. So I'm basically just saying, hey, when a new shipment is confirmed, boom, we're going to do something. What are we going to do? That's described on the second tab. And the second tab is saying we're actually going to send out a mobile SMS notification. So one of the things I just wanted to highlight here is that Acumatica has different types of notification templates, right? There could be a mobile notification to a mobile device. You could do a push notification to the Acumatica mobile app. You have the ability to actually go in and tell Acumatica, what are we going to do? What type of notification? I'm going to do two here together with you in the next 20 minutes before our session is over. We're going to do one as a mobile text message. So this will be outbound to a customer. And then we'll do another one, which would be internal, like an employee, and it will be creating a task when something happens, right? It's these kind of if this, then that scenarios. That's what a business event is all about. So in this example, I've identified in Acumatica that it's going to be a mobile SMS notification. And then I went into the SMS notification area and I said, here's what we want to say. And similar to if you're familiar with like the report designer or notification templates, right? Let me zoom in here. I was able to insert data fields so that when this automatically sends to my phone, you'll actually see it'll say your shipment number blank has been confirmed. Here's the shipment date. A really common use case here is that end users of Acumatica that ship to customers, they would want to be able to say, hey, your product shipped, here's a tracking number. That way I could just hit it with my phone when I get the message and launch open the UPS or the FedEx or other carrier tracking information. It's so easy to set this up, guys. That's why I get so excited about business events, because you already have the inquiries built. A lot of times you already have the notifications and your email plugin, all that's there. You're just taking it one step further to be able to now have the system automatically do things for you. One thing that I will mention that's a requirement for doing outbound SMS is you need an engine to be able to send the text messages, just like you plug in your email server credentials into Acumatica, right? And that's where it uses your email server, your email account. You have to do the same thing if you're going to use this SMS provider. It's a very inexpensive service to sign up for, and Acumatica already has an integration with Twilio. You literally set this up in Acumatica. You put in the Twilio credentials. Twilio is that same concept of an email server. It's like a text server. So it's going to operate like a mobile phone. It's what distributes the actual text message in this body here. Okay, so make sure you get that set up. Again, there's another area inside of Acumatica called SMS System Providers or SMS Providers, where you would go in and again, the Twilio provider is available out of the box. You're responsible to then go sign up for your own Twilio account, come back in here and put the credentials in. And just like that, you're going to be able to send text messages from Acumatica. Okay, great. All right. So that was just some of the setup for this one. Again, the first scenario we're going to run through is let's actually enter an order. I'm the customer here, and then we're going to process the order. And I want you guys to be able to see from my mobile device how I can actually receive the notification within seconds of processing the order in Acumatica. Okay. So we're going to go in here. Let's open up Acumatica. At some point, I will just need to take a moment because I want you to see it live. I'll share my phone to the screen so that you can see it. And we'll go ahead. Now we're just using Acumatica just like we do every other day. We've got an order for a customer. The customer happens to be me. I'm going to go in and I would actually pick up, what do I want to buy today? It's always fun shopping in a demo environment. Let's see if I can buy, is there any of this travel system? Graco, we're buying a baby crib, all right? We're buying a pack and play, that's what they call these ones. Let's buy two, we're having twins. Not really, just kidding, but we're gonna buy two, give one to a friend. So I've got this sales order now staged in the system. You could use a business event here as an order confirmation, right? That's what's already available in Acumatica through printing the sales order, having that order confirmation type of form. But with a business event, we're a little more nimble. We're not going to mess around with the report designer. We're literally just telling the system when we ship this thing, send the customer the text, the text message, right? So from there, I would go ahead and let's create the shipment. Typically, you guys are doing this through a larger processing screen. So but I'm just going to do this one off. We'll say we're going to ship this guy today. And from there, I have a shipment. All right. This normally in a workflow, we go pick it, we go grab the two cribs, we package them up, we would select the carrier, right? One thing I wanted to tell you though is that any of the information on the shipment record, anything in that shipment generic inquiry or GI is fair game to include in the text message to the customer. Tracking information, packaging information, a special note somewhere, right? I have a very simple example set up for today, but it's also a very powerful tool that you can really access any data inside of Acumatica. If it's in the inquiry, it can be inside of your notification via text. So what I'm going to do here, guys, is I am going to just, I'm going to share my screen with the mobile device. So you guys should be able to see this here, because I actually want you to see the text message show up here in just a moment. So before I do that, let me just hit confirm shipment. So I'm going to confirm the shipment, right? And then I'll share my screen. If I do this quick enough, you guys will be here for when it comes in. So what I have is, this is the text thread. I was doing some tests earlier. I just hit confirm shipment in my other screen, and it took about 5 seconds, right? For a lot of people that are coming off of legacy systems, this type of feature it's really hard, right? Their legacy system has no access to cloud services like Twilio. So just like that, 1:03 p.m., I got my shipment confirmation. And again, I could include the tracking information. What does this allow us to do with Acumatica? This is really cool technically, but what's the business case? Better customer service, more touch points with our customer. All these touch points with our customer are actually recorded inside of Acumatica, right? So we have a track of every time we touch the customer with some sort of notification or email. Is it text or is it via some other mechanism? So that's what I wanted to show you on the SMS text message side. There is a whole nother side to using business events, though, for notification purposes alone, and that is creating tasks. And I forget exactly what version it was that Acumatica did this, but Acumatica allowed us to, within a business event, actually create a task for someone. I believe it was like maybe second half of last year, somewhere around the summit or the version before that. So we used to just have email notifications, the ability to light off import scenarios, then mobile push. This would be more like for employees from the mobile app. Like sometimes I like to use the mobile push instead of an email, because it just goes like a mobile push to that person's phone, doesn't clog up their email, but still tells them they have some sort of approval to make, right? And then the mobile SMS that we just went over. But let's do an example with the task, because I really like this feature to automate creating tasks inside of Acumatica. So one really neat thing that you can do with this is automate and have the system, like maybe there's right now a report you run. Like I run a sales report as a sales manager on every Friday. And then I manually print it out and I grab my pen and I say, all right, here's 4 orders that I consider large, right? That I want to make sure that the sales rep gets an attaboy, attagirl, a high five for this order. I don't want to run that report anymore, right? I'm going to make that a business event in Acumatica. So I'm going to show you a different type of business event that I've created to automate task creation. So here I have the event ID is kind of a silly name. I wasn't quite sure what to call it when I was preparing. So basically we called it the Congrats Order business event. And what this business event is going to do is I'm looking again at an inquiry, and I'll hit this view screen button just so you guys can see. Nothing magical about this, guys. You already use inquiries in Acumatica every day. Many of you on the call today, you are comfortable creating your own inquiries, right? That's why Acumatica is very smart in using this as a basis for tools like business events and dashboards. So I just grabbed the standard sales order inquiry screen, and then I said, you know what, Acumatica, we're going to use this to be able to create a business event. And anytime the sales order total is greater than $9,999, and I could have put additional statements in here like, or that, it's this specific product that, I don't know, it's a high margin product for us, and I want to know every time that's sold, right? So I have here my scenario. This time I don't have an SMS because I don't necessarily, as the VP of sales, want to get a text message every time this happens. That might be annoying. I'm going to get them throughout the day. It could interrupt my work, and it's just at some point I'll start ignoring them. I'm going to use the standard Acumatica task management functionality. So here I'll open up my tasks view. This is a screen that you could have on a dashboard, for example, or get even other reporting around. But this is my list of open tasks in the system. So let's go ahead. Let's enter another sales order together here. Except now what we're going to do is you're going to watch how when it's over $10,000, it will actually insert a new record in my task table, my task view for me. So let's go ahead and we'll hit plus. Doesn't really matter what customer I do this for. So let's go ahead and grab ABC Studios as the customer, and we'll add an item. So we'll just put on here one of these items in the system, the insulated bottle, right? Let's do that. And I'm going to play with the pricing here a little bit. I've got 670 on hand. So in order to get to the dollar threshold we're talking about, we're really marking up this insulated bottle. Let's sell them at $276 per piece. That wasn't enough. Let's do $27.60. These are very, 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 very special insulated water bottles. Only the best water in the world can be put in them. But the idea here is I'm going to go ahead and hit save my order total. I did my job as the rep. Maybe I actually came in here, had a quote, tracked the quote, converted the quote to an order, right? Regardless, it was a simple scenario. When the order totals over $9,999, we want Acumatica to create a task so that when the CEO logs in, they would actually see those tasks. So you see the one I was sampling with earlier. I have a new task on my dashboard. Say congrats to whoever the sales rep was for, and remember that same type of mail merge data field functionality is available both on the title of the task as well as the body. So this is telling me, hey, let the salesperson know that I appreciate order blank for blank, right? It was $25,000, whatever the total was. So very, very, again, something that when I hear people are going into Acumatica, running a report and then doing something, it's a great use case to be able to automate through what we call a business event in Acumatica. I just want to give you a couple more scenarios that I've seen, because sometimes it's hard to think of, all right, how could I actually use this? My team in the past has put together business events for people and demonstrations where, let's say, upon receiving product from a vendor, right, there was something that there was something that was damaged, right? So I'm going to take a picture of that, and then maybe we add an attribute on the receipt that says it's damaged. That can be a business event. It can fire off a notification to somebody else to then call that vendor up and figure out, what are we going to do with this one product? There are oftentimes things in Acumatica too that you wind up sometimes being, if it's something that is a very specific use case to your organization, and Acumatica doesn't do that thing out of the box, a lot of times we can use business events to be able to help automate that as much as possible without necessarily doing a full-blown customization. I do just want to show you this other screen here called Business Event History. This is basically a monitoring screen of all the different business events that have been sent out. So we did the shipment one here and the congrats order. Those were the two examples. But let's just say that there was something hung up on your inquiry or there was an error. What I really like about this is it's not going to send you to, say, like the developer kind of track tool to see something that an end user is not going to understand. This is a tool for business users, right? This is not a tool for technical people to use. This is a tool for business users to be able to learn and to be able to leverage, to really, we we use that term digital transformation all the time. Just getting your general ledger in a cloud system from an on-prem system, in my opinion, is not digitally transforming your business. Using tools like this to eliminate workarounds, eliminate printing out reports, being able to monitor your business digitally using tools that are specific to your organization, that's edging closer to what I would classify as digital transformation. So this is a great way to be able to do that. Before we end here, because I do just want to allow people to be able to put questions in for the chat for the last 2 minutes, I did just want to show you an example of something that actually was more of a, it would be like an email. So this here was a case. This one is about case management in Acumatica for those of you using support cases. This is an email notification. We're not going to go through a full example, but you'll see that it's going to use the email notification template in Acumatica. So again, last thing I'll say, you're using a lot of these foundational elements today if you're live in Acumatica. Notification templates, generic inquiries, maybe even the SMS part. Bringing this together with a business event, it literally took me 5 minutes to create and test both of those examples. You're going to want to make it a little bit more detailed for yourself, but make it a goal for your organization if you are a customer, an end customer of Acumatica, to actually implement 5 of these by the end of the year. And for the resellers on the line, I would also encourage you to implement for your customers, pick 4 or 5 that maybe come up during the project, and then try to figure out how can we do that pre-go live so that we really get this type of automation at the point of cutover and go live. So that's everything that I had prepared for today. Wanted to just save a minute or two for questions. So feel free to drop them in the chat if you have any questions or any feedback for me. And I know I only had till 1:15 Eastern, so if you do need to drop off, appreciate your time today, and hope you enjoy the next couple of days with the acuCONNECT conference.